evening and welcome to episode 2. And if you missed episode 1 with Bernadette Evans, the CEO and founder of Bernadette Evans Ministry, I think you ought to tune in. I think that this is something that every person needs to understand the volume of what her ministry is about. This is not just about coming and finding your purpose without going through understanding who you are, what you've been through, and how you can resolve it. And as Miss Bernadette Evans has told us, it's a new walk. This is a new way to walk. Mm-hmm. So in episode 1, we talked about what the ministry was about, and she eloquently explained that it was about abstinence, abstaining, something that we were told, oh yes, abstain, and that was it. No one explained it in depth. We were told there was birth control. You were told what you could use and how you could use it, but abstinence wasn't the top of the shelf. Bernadette, why do you think that the schools and the health education classes and a lot of the doctors that young adults go to, they don't talk much about abstinence?
Well, I think that, I know for a fact that schools don't talk about abstinence because abstinence in many cases is associated to religion. And so now you really can't talk about religion in school. And so that's a subject that kind of surrounds, it's a faith-based kind of topic. Most people associate abstinence with, Christianity or other religions. And we just can't have that discussion in schools. Now, why doctors don't do that, I'm not too sure. I'm not so sure why medical professionals, especially gynecologists, don't speak to young women about practicing abstinence. I think that we live in a culture now, and we live in a society where everybody just feels like you can do your own thing.
Yeah. Wow, that's powerful. That's really powerful. I never thought about it. Again, from the school standpoint, equating that to religion, and of course, that everyone is backpedaling from a belief system to call themselves inclusive. So that's really interesting that they wouldn't then take that from the standpoint of a health issue, because it's so important that they should find the inroad to be able to advocate for that. So what are your thoughts on that?
I agree, Felice. I think that they should look at it from a medical standpoint, a health from the health profession standpoint. I absolutely agree with that. Because one of the things about abstinence is that you certainly don't have to worry about being pregnant. You certainly don't have to worry about STDs or any other things that are associated with sexual intercourse.
Yeah.
I think, for me, abstinence, and I also believe this, is that abstinence gives young people, older people, because here's the thing, you can practice abstinence at any age.
I was going to just that actually was my next question. So even thank you for going there, is because now just here's the question then, is it too late to start practicing abstinence?
It's never too late. It's never too late. Let me say this, I gave my life to Jesus Christ. And when I was a young woman, I was 24, 25 years old. This year made 39 years that I've been a believer. And for a lot of my Christian life, I was not abstinent.
Right.
I was not abstinent because, again, going back to the molestation, the incest, low self-esteem, low value. Just because I came to Christ didn't mean that those issues disappeared.
Right. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
right. And 35 years ago, 36 years, 39 years ago, there was nothing in place for young single people, male or female, to help us learn how to manage ourselves and walk out, excuse me, and walk out our faith. I think today the church is doing a much better job because they're having those hard conversations, they're having those hard talks. Well, now you have to have these conversations because you have teen pregnancies, you have sexually transmitted diseases, you have so many things that our society is confronted with in the health field, and just in our society at large, our people. So we have to start having these conversations with young people. We have to start explaining to them, look, you can have fun, you can enjoy yourself, you can still date, but you can be abstinent. You don't have to do this just because it's the popular thing to do. You don't have to do it just because it's peer pressure. I also believe that in order to maintain an abstinent lifestyle, you do have to be in a community with like-minded people.
Sure.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
You definitely have to be in a community with like-minded people. And that's what Bernadette Evans Ministry is all about. I'm about creating that community for men and women, young and old. See, Bernadette Evans Ministries really focuses on young people. That's where I give back. That's where I pour into my community. I pour into my church. You know, I do things to encourage and uplift and inspire young people. Purpose, Power, and Profits is my personal development and spiritual guidance organization. That's my for-profit business, and that's where I deal with adults.
Good.
Now,
Good.
let me just ask you to ask this in explaining. You've given us so much information on the why, the reason that we're looking at why people need this. We're looking at it because of the molestation. We're looking at it because of the STDs and diseases. We're looking at it because people need to understand who they are. But Bernadette, we're emotional people. We need those hugs and we need that love. And sometimes it just spills over and we don't know what to do. And we don't know how to handle it. And we don't know if we don't, especially our young women that are out there looking for that husband, our young women that are out there looking for that date that would lead to a husband or a long-term relationship, our young wives that are looking to hold on to their husbands for fear that the husband is going to cheat and it'll be a done deal. Right. We need something to maintain and hold on to our emotional needs. And sex has always been promoted. And I say that with a strong emphasis on promoted. It's always been promoted as the number one emotional
elixir.
You know, it solves everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, have a drink, pick up somebody, and go have sex. And supposedly, this is supposed to make you feel better about who you are. What says the ministry about that?
But it doesn't. But it doesn't. That's what I say about that. You see, I've been there and I've done that. Yeah. And I know that that's coming from a broken place. Yeah. And it's really about mindset. It's all about our mindset.
Right.
So what you're telling me is a part of your ministry does deal with the mindset.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. We definitely deal with your mindset, renewing your mind. And I'm not I am unapologetic about my faith. So we renew our mind in the word of God.
Yes.
What does
Right.
and what does God say about this? Because most of the people that I come in contact with claim to be Christians.
Mhm.
And so if Christianity is the faith that you ascribe to,
Mhm.
then that means that you ascribe to the word of God and you ascribe to those teachings. Well, those teachings specifically address sex
Mhm.
and the context in which sex is to be had.
Yeah. Mhm.
So we have to renew our minds to that. And
Right.
again, we are sexual beings, and if
Mhm.
you've had sex, you
Mhm.
already understand the satisfaction
Right.
and the pleasure that you can get from sex.
Mhm.
But I
Well,
believe
I understand that part. I understand that part. And I want our viewers to also understand that we're not talking about the fact that what it does not do.
Mhm.
What we're talking about is a person who is growing into themselves or has grown into themselves with a misunderstanding
Mhm.
of how to place their emotions about themselves, their emotions about others as it relates to sexual contact, and their fears about being alone because they're not doing what the peers and the pressure and everything else is around. So I wanted you to emphasize, which you have in an elegant way. The point is that your ministry is there to make sure that they're growing in the right way, understanding
exactly,
themselves in the right way,
Mhm.
exactly.
understanding the correct way to be involved sexually,
Mhm.
understanding that it does touch into your spirituality. It does touch into your mental growth. It does
Yes, it
touch
does.
into your health.
Yes,
All
it
of those
does.
components are a part of the sexual experience. And if you tip one or the other, you can cause a problem.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah.
you do cause a problem.
Mhm.
You do cause a problem, and that's the problem with being sexually active at a young age, because you're not equipped for the emotions that come with
Sure.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
That's true.
you unleash these emotions,
Mhm.
and then scientifically speaking, when people have sex, there's a hormone that's released called oxytocin. And that oxytocin that's released is a bonding chemical
Yeah.
to bring two people together. And so you start having sex with a boy and you break up with him, you're devastated and you're heartbroken. But
Mhm.
you're devastated and you're heartbroken because you've made a chemical bond as well as an emotional bond
Mhm. Yeah.
to this person.
Mhm.
And that's the problem of having multiple sexual partners
Mhm.
or multiple sex partners.
Mhm.
Because every time you have sex with this person, that person, you are releasing this chemical and you're making this bond with all these different people. And every time you break up, a piece of you is gone.
Right.
You
Yeah.
become another piece is broken, and you
Mhm.
become so fragmented.
Mhm.
And then you find yourself maybe somewhere in your mid-20s or your late 20s, your early 30s, 40s, 50s, even some women in their 60s. You're broken
Yeah.
and you're jaded. And now you think all men are garbage. And that's not
Mhm.
true.
Right.
It's just
Right.
that you got involved too early. You didn't understand the value of what you possess as a woman.
Yes. Wow.
Yes, let's talk
Mhm.
about that value. We're going to go into episode 3 with that
Mhm.
value of a woman, which
Yeah.
not only is a part of her mind, but it's a part of her body and her soul.
Mhm.
And I think that we're opening up to what Bernadette Evans Ministries does, because if we open the minds of these young ladies to understanding the values that they have, And even the older people that already know some of the things that they know, we need to open up their minds too to their values, especially in times like this. So I invite everybody to come back and watch the streaming episodes of Bernadette Evans and the Ministries. And we're going to conclude part 2. And we look forward to part 3.